All right, it's 1 o'clock.
Y'all gonna try to stand at the door? Okay. Everybody here gonna stand where they're on the seat? What are you doing back there?
I've been here for 6 weeks.
Oh.
Standing.
All right, good afternoon. Let's call the meeting to order. It's July the 9th. We're here at the Civic Center for a regular meeting. We're gonna stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Pollak.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Sorry.
Here.
Mayor Kathy.
Here.
Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Mr. Putnam.
Here.
I said I'd do one more and then she's in charge after today.
I got you. Sorry about that. I wasn't. Okay, as usual, we will allow comments. Instead of citizens' comments, we will allow comments on the agenda items as we move through them. And remember, if you do, to identify yourself, your address for the record. All right, the first item on the agenda is CDC. I'm gonna back you up,
That's perfectly fine.
because you may be long-winded. All right,
Only if Wallace asks me a question.
all right, I got you. MVARA, we're gonna break from what's on the agenda, and we have a presentation from MVARA, Bob and Carol Cox. If y'all come in, please.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we were coming in to prepare to, present the check check to the city for $50,000. But checked the mailbox yesterday, and we had another $50,000 donation from the McIntosh Foundation in Washington, D.C. So today's check will be for $100,000.
We have a, let me stand, $100,000, we're standing up for.
Very good.
I'm trying.
$100,000.
Yeah, so that brings the total donations to $175,000, and with this $100,000, the denominations of the breakdown of where the money's been designated for is right there with over $86,000 to decide, for the city to decide what to do, what's best.
Thank you very much for handling this, and just a short note on the McIntosh Foundation. Winston McIntosh, I've spoken to her several times, and she is dedicating that money to revamping Sunset Park.
All right.
That'll go a long way. Yep. So
Sweet,
thank you for
sweet.
doing it, but you and Carol both, and the whole organization.
We're
Good
proud
job.
and glad to do it.
All right, the painful
Thank
part
you,
is I
everybody.
pass his name.
Bob, check the mailbox tomorrow again.
Oh, will do. Yeah, well, that surprises.
Ms. McIntosh is her sister has a house at the end of on the canal down from the CDC. The egg-shaped house, I call it, it survived. They're doing a TV series about that house, and her sister, Winston McIntosh, came and wanted, she's also the one that did the T-shirts. The blue, MB Strong or what, I forget, yeah. She did that, and we are hoping to get some, with those funds to revitalize Sunset Park. It would be great if we could have Christmas there. But that's just not a commitment, just a thought. A lot of work to do. Okay, the CDC,
Okay.
you're up.
All right, so, Okay, so as you know, collaboratively, the city and the CDC have been working on, some beach nourishment as well as some fixing of the canal, jetties and everything for a very long time. And back in 2017, the state awarded the city a grant for a little over $600,000 to complete the sand inlet bypassing system, which outlines a ton of projects. And so that was signed off on by the city by Mr. Smigelski back in January of 2018. Permits and everything have just now been received. And so back when all this was going forward and the CDC was helping the city secure these funds, we agreed to help meet the city's local match by 50%, and then the city would be on the table for 50%. The CDC's portion of that 50% was almost $78,000, which the city would then have to come up with their portion of the $78,000. Since everything's transpired, my board is still willing to come up to the table with our agreed-upon match of the $78,000, and then in speaking with the Bay County TDC, to lift a burden from the city for this local match of $122,000, the TDC and the CDC is willing to essentially pay for the city's 25% local match, all out. And so therefore, the city would not be on the hook for having to come up with $122,000. And some of these projects, the city can go ahead and get reimbursed for, because some of the designing and permitting have already been done. So with that, with this sand inlet bypassing project, the TDC and the CDC is wanting to help the city financially with this project, because this is a doorway that will ensure us to continue to receive state and federal funding for our ongoing beach nourishment, as well as for our canals and our jetties. So that is what I'm presenting. So if you want my money, here it is. The whole match, 122. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The local match is $155,250, totaling of $621,000 for this project.
And TDC and CDC is going
Mm-hmm.
to pay for it all.
We're gonna pay for it all. The local match,
That's great.
155.
That's great.
Yep. Yes.
That helps out a lot of beach rating.
Yes. So.
The city still has to be the administrator of that fund.
All we are doing is writing a check. Dina and the city will oversee this project, is what they have been doing this whole entire time. Nothing has changed. We will just continue to collaborate together and piggyback off of each other to find more additional funding, which the CDC is still going forward with trying to secure the $25 million for the whole beach project. And that will be presented to the state here once they meet in their next budget cycle starting in November.
All right, other questions? Thank you for your,
Thank you.
For your kind into the TDC, and not often you start off a meeting with two such generous acts. So, do you need any, there is nothing to formalize because the agreement has been signed, other than that the permits will come through the city.
Yeah, and Dean and I will work to figure out that reimbursement process is, you know, what invoices they have to cover, and then we just cut a check back to the city.
If you don't mind, let's sort of the same subject,
Yes,
just
sir.
just a different paragraph.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday at our budget meeting, there was discussion about the beach cleaning / canal funding that the CDC has done traditionally for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And we were told that no, that y'all were not gonna be able to do that.
Correct. Unfortunately, that budget has gone, I mean, our budget's just a roadmap, and we have to make our money as we go along, and my budget was $780,000, and this year I've only brought in $45,000. So, as you can see, unfortunately, we're just not able to follow some of our budget line
I understand.
items.
The reason I raised the question,
Mhm.
it was pointed out at yesterday's meeting that we should formally, I guess, ask, because I think that had been done sort of a little hallway meeting per se.
Yes, sir.
And we need to know as we move forward what to expect. So I thought it would be appropriate just to ask you now if the answer is still no, and you don't have any, even though you basically have explained it, if you have anything else to say, or if any of the council has anything to say about the CDC's. It was somewhat relayed to us that, you know, that was a commitment that the citizens
Understand.
were due, but again, it's, things aren't the way they've always been, so.
No, unfortunately not.
I think if for budgetary reasons, we need to go ahead and either, you know, check that box off, and we don't need to be wondering about it. So I just wanted to give you a chance to make any statement that you thought was appropriate about that fund.
If the council wants to, I'm more than welcome to take it back to my council, but I can tell you, we've had other line item budget areas that we have cut and frozen. And the only reason why we're able to help assist with this project funding is because it's not essentially coming out of the CDC's budget. The TDC is picking up the whole tab because they created a resolution back in their fourth quarter for any additional tax revenue collected in Panama City Beach. They would assist Panama City Beach, Panama City, and Mexico Beach with any projects above and beyond their scope of work to financially help out with some of our projects. So that's why I'm able to help with this $155,000, because it's coming from a spike in their collections, unfortunately, because Mexico Beach didn't have anything. So with that being said, our normal fiscal year 19 budget, that roadmap has been pretty much detoured off. And so I'm only able to expend what I have. And then that's where I am. I'm more than happy to take it to my council and let them offer a formal letter or notation back,
Well,
but.
it's just, yesterday we talked about it, today you're here.
Yes, sir.
So I thought, you know, let's just cut to the chase and find out where we are, and, we've got all other things to do. Anybody got questions? Yes, sir.
I wasn't the one that brought that up, by the way.
I didn't think you were.
But don't you have a reserve like everybody does?
I do, I have $100,000.
Oh, okay.
And I've already had to tap into that for the rental of the Welcome Center, as well as some other,
I got you.
paying my rent to the
Yeah,
city.
so we used to have a reserve too, and it's all gone.
I'm sorry. But I'm helping you build it back.
Okay.
So yes.
Anything else?
Well, I think the $155,000 is great, and thank you very much.
Oh.
It goes a long ways towards beach rate,
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And, my seat is up for grabs if anybody would like it.
Oh, you're leaving now?
I'm done.
You're not staying for the rest of it?
I think you can handle it without me, Mr. Wallace. I'll cheer you on from my office as I write you a check.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, Adrian, I think you're handling the P&Z,
Ready to roll.
okay?
All right, the first one is the property located at 215 St. Francis Street, contains a single-family home. The owner is requesting to expand the deck and requires a variance from the rear setback. And under the staff recommendation, you'll see it says in this request, the owner is required to meet a rear setback of 10 feet. The existing deck is already completed in the rear setback and was constructed without a permit. The current owner purchased the property in March 2019 after the initial deck was constructed. The new deck addition, constructed by the current owner, is almost complete, was built without a permit as well. The city code enforcement officer discovered the violation and placed a stop work order on the property, which prompted the variance request. So it is built back into the rear setback, and they're requesting the variance, allowing them to do so. It does already exist.
Okay.
Can I speak at
Let me
all?
let me stop the band a minute. I unfortunately, I get ahead of myself on this. We have to have a public hearing, which is part of the process for variances. So while we just heard about that one, I'm now gonna open the floor for the public hearing, which will allow those of you here, if any, to discuss the variance that was just talked about, which is on the 215 St. Francis Street. So, with that said, we're now open for public comment. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Crystal Layfield, and we're the owner of that home. We bought that home 3 months ago, not aware that that deck was built illegally. So when we bought the house, we assumed if we were gonna add a couple of feet to it, that it also would be legal. We had no idea. And so now I'm asking the question, how did they get a CO when it was built illegally to start with? Because apparently you found out after the fact that there was a cease and desist order that they apparently did not pay attention to and continued to build the deck. And when we bought the house, we're in complete, didn't know. It didn't come up when we did the title search. So, we're just asking, the water now comes from that ditch all the way to the back of the house. We have no way to get to our yard. It is just mush. And, we're just wanting to be able to utilize the side of our house where the grass actually is. And my neighbors are here. They live in the subdivision with us, and if you guys wanna speak, you can say what you want to about the deck. It doesn't seem to be bothering anyone.
Mike and Sandy Anderson, 214 St. Francis, we're currently building across the street. I have absolutely no problem with Crystal and Lane having that deck over there. As a matter of fact, like she said, that deck was sitting over there long before they bought that house, and nobody seemed to have a problem with it or catch it then, so I think it's with a CO, and they got a CO, so it's kind of almost unfair to now ping them for wanting to enjoy their house that they took ownership of that was not done right.
I'm Jane Dunn. I live at 218 St. Francis Street, which is basically next door to them. There's an empty lot between us. And their deck, we can barely even see it from our house. It doesn't affect anybody because the back is just right away from the road. There's some extra property there, but there's not near enough to build a house on the back of it. It doesn't affect, there's nobody behind them. It doesn't affect anybody really,
I do have some pictures if anybody wants to see it.
But, we're fine with it. It doesn't bother us at all. And I do feel sorry for them because they got shafted in the deal with the deck from the previous owners.
Others?
There's a ditch and then pavement behind you, a road that runs behind?
Yes,
Yeah, to nowhere.
but there's whatever that strip of land is, it'll never be built on.
Yeah.
And, I have 2 little dogs, I have to put them on a leash, I can't even get them, to let them out in the yard. It's just, when it rains, the water comes all the way up to the back of the house.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Don Tilley, 311 Hatley Drive. I drive my golf cart there all the time. It backs up to Joe Road. There's no problem whatsoever. And back a long time ago when Ken was the code enforcer, and then you reduced the code enforcer to, a few hours and all that, that variance request was right in the middle of all that. And then I guess the paperwork got shuffled.
Do we have the attachments?
Yeah, they're in here somewhere, I guess. The pictures, page 13.
I think you got it. You need to
I have a picture if you need it.
Yeah, page 13. Isn't that it, I think? The rear elevation?
I don't know, I got what so,
This is a picture of what it looks like, I don't know. Is that what you
I
have?
just,
Yours has numbers?
I rode by, I know exactly where the house is. I just wanted to-
Keep going.
There's a bigger picture. How many feet from your back door to your property line? From your back door to your property line?
That I can't answer.
It's
I don't
probably
know.
about- Probably 10 to 15.
There's a survey.
10 to 15.
10.18. That's, Jake's not that big.
10 feet.
10 feet according to the survey. From the back property line to the back of the house? How big is the deck?
We're not going out of the deck, we're
I know,
going
ma'am, how big
sideways.
is your deck now from your back porch to the?
It's the measurements on that paper.
10 feet wide,
I guess it's 10,
Well,
yeah, it's
it's
10.
13.
The new deck is 10 feet by 12
Yeah,
six.
yeah, all right, are there other citizens or, you know, public comments about the variance request before we close the hearing? Yes, sir.
Not knowing you people, but looking at where the property is, and you bought the house with that, and there's nothing to be built behind you, so you can't affect the neighbor,
No,
that seems like one of the things where it's an exception to the setback requirements that the council ought to be willing to look at.
All right, last call. Other comments? All right, we're gonna close the public hearing.
And Al, is there for sure nobody can build behind you?
no, it's
No.
only if,
It's a drainage ditch.
It's in the road. It's nothing to do with ditch in the road.
Why anybody built it, I don't know. But she can't hurt you.
Okay, the only question I have, what was there before you added on to it?
the original deck, what you're looking at in that picture, is what was there.
Well, okay, this
That's
was,
the original
this is-
deck.
So it's 13 by 10 by 13.
Yes,
Yeah, I see existing, I didn't see that.
yes.
Okay. All right. And it is now what size?
We just added to the end of the house, which would, I think it was 10 feet to the end of the house.
So the photograph we see, you just bought it for that corner.
Right.
Yes, that's it.
Well, the corner drawing is 12 feet 6 inches. That was added.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right, council comments?
Unless y'all have any questions? No, I mean,
All right, no, I think everybody fully understands where we're at. I'm gonna read what you're asking for. Variance request. Are you asking for what you added, or are you asking to have what you, to keep
We're
what you had?
asking for what we added. We had no idea what we were doing was wrong.
but it'll be both. Yeah, I was
The
gonna say.
It's both, because the existing's over two.
Yeah, it
I didn't
should-
know if she identified in the request. what-
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just asking to get to the end of the house, so, because there is a grassy area there that we want to be able to get to without swimming.
I know, I understand, all right, questions from council?
Well, now, it looks like you asking on this variance, request, 2 feet, on the rear.
About 10.
And I know Tim's asking 2 feet variance.
Should be about 10.
No, she goes to the corner of the house.
Hereby request to
And
consider.
then it's 2 feet beyond.
If her house is 10 feet from the property line where the door is, and then there's a deck, that entire deck is in the setback.
Good.
And it's more than 2 feet wide.
Okay, so it's 2 feet, 10 feet.
I'm looking at it wrong.
It's 9.2 feet in setback.
Should've known you would know.
Yeah, that's right. Do we vote on this?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we can make a decision, I just want to comment to the owner. I feel your pain in terms of not, knowing that what was there. But I'm not willing to ignore that what you added isn't something that you purchased, it's not something that you didn't ask for, it's not, I don't know that the city is a culprit in what you added. I know exactly where the property is, I understand the, location and what can be there. But I don't support allowing someone that they don't know that they added on, and then it becomes that the city should make that right. What you purchased, I don't have a problem with.
And just so you know, the results of the P and Z meeting was they recommended denial 4-1.
I'm sure, I mean, so that's for those of you who are here for, are representing 215 Francis, turning my head to what you didn't buy is not something that I think is in the best interest of the city.
Well, does the city bear any responsibility in the fact that they gave them a CO when they had a cease and desist order?
I can't answer that. I don't know anything about, I don't have any information about what, I was told there was in the file that there was a cease and desist order. But I can't answer to, and I don't think any of us here can answer to why they were CO'd, if it was inspected and the setbacks not checked, and that, I wish, I don't know that. And that's the main reason that I'm comfortable, because I think we do bear some negligence in the building department or the code person or whoever's out there supposedly measuring and checking it and do that. But to ask you to tear all that out, I think that's way beyond what we should do. But the fact that that did exist when you purchased it, I think is sort of the city has a responsibility. That's what we do. That's what we people pay us to do, is to check for those things. So what happens to you doesn't happen.
Yeah, because we assumed it was legal.
Of course you would. And I think everyone in this room would think that. Nobody checked the file, nobody came up here and, I mean, nobody did, I mean, it was just found later. And I totally agree with you.
Now, I have to add to that, if you went to get a building permit to start with, you would have found this out before all this happened.
Well, actually, we did come in to get a building permit. We were out of the country when all this, we hired a contractor, we had no idea all this started happening. And we came in to get a building permit, and even no one told us. I didn't find out till 2 weeks ago that there was a cease and desist order on the original deck. When the code person came to my house to put up the cease and desist order, she told me then it was one back in 2017. I'm like, what? No one. Not my real estate agent, not the people who did the title search. No one has told us that.
So somebody went and got a permit
After the stop order, work order.
after stop, I'm talking about.
No, we did not ever get a permit. No, we have not been able to get a
If you
permit.
had done that, you would have found this out before.
Well, we're still kind of in the process, I guess you would say. I can tell you, I don't think we would have bought a home in Mexico Beach knowing we have no access to a yard. It was just never, it was never told to us.
All right. If there's other questions or comments from council, Chair will entertain a motion.
I would move that we accept the request.
Motion to accept as it stands today,
Yes,
as the deck is sitting today.
yes.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to accept the request for the deck to remain as it sits today. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Pollak,
No.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Cath,
No.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Putnam.
No. All right, that motion died. Is there any other motion concerning 21215 St. Francis Street?
Got a question for her.
Okay.
What's the penalty of them, having this already built? Is as far as, getting permits, paying for, I mean, is there any penalty and all that? I mean, no offense, they did not get a permit to build this section.
Well, it's the typical building, I mean, once it's found, a stop order was issued, and until it's, I mean, they're going through that process right now. They have the right to come here to ask for a variance. And then, if that's not granted, then, as far as I'm concerned, I was hoping we might make a motion to allow them to have what they bought. And then, that other piece would have to be removed. I mean, that, but as far as a penalty, you get into,
There's a provision in your code that if something is built, without a building permit, there's a 4 times fee to get the permit. If they built it themselves, that would allow the, assuming the building went forward. But other than that, I mean, it's just like the mayor says, y'all can order it to be, the section is not permitted to be torn out.
but remember now, just to be clear, in this case, the 4 times rule would be for something that would have been approved. This would not have been approved for a building permit, because it doesn't meet the set. If they had come here, they would have been denied. It doesn't meet the setback. So, I mean, there's a difference between what would have been accepted. If they'd have built, and this hadn't have been a setback issue, there would have been a 4 times rule for the permit to build the deck. But the fact that it wouldn't have been approved puts it at this table. Okay,
Okay. I make a motion that they can keep what was already there, but remove the new addition.
all right, we have a motion to allow for what was purchased to remain. Paraphrasing that. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Pollak,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Kathy,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Putnam.
Yes. Okay? Thank
Can
you all
I
for coming.
ask one question?
You may.
Can I take that existing deck and lower it to the ground and make that into a patio, so to speak? Is that illegal? I mean, is that legal to do if it's on the ground?
Yeah, because in this, you can put things in the setback if they're not, the way,
32.
that's the thing.
Mr. Mayor, I think
32
6 inches. Would you need a permit to change that?
Well, we still have a permit issue on the deck itself, so.
The fact that it's elevated, Bill, what, is it 6? I think it's higher.
Okay, it was 6, and I haven't, we've
The
talked about
answer-
that in zoning, we haven't gone back and looked.
The answer is, there is provisions in the LDR where you can build in the setback at like, you can put a driveway, you can do, the elevation is the issue, but I don't know, I'd have to I don't have that in front of me.
We can definitely, if you wanna come in, we can talk about it,
Okay.
let you know.
Which would mean, I think you would then come out of your house, down a set of steps onto a more of like a patio instead of a.
So I could keep the existing deck, and then the deck I added, I could lower it 6 inches
Well,
or
you
whatever
can,
from
you
the
can
ground.
check that and see, I don't know the height, but I know it's in there that you can use your setback for patios, driveways and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
now that this decision's been made, we can permit the existing deck and then whatever you wanna do on the ground.
Okay. All right.
You got it?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone, those of you that came to, all right, we all stand?
No, we're gonna leave.
Okay, we'll let you.
I don't like it. I'd leave too.
We'll say I want. Yes, I do.
All right. We're gonna move on. Adrian? 107, 38th Street.
I'm gonna apologize ahead of time because this one still a little bit confuses me, so I'm gonna try and get through it, and if somebody's here from there, they can hopefully
It's
guide me.
difficult to read
It is.
what it is that I'm, other than I had a phone call about it, I think I understand it.
That's where I'm at, is I've talked to so many people about it. The way this is written, it looks like they're requesting side setbacks, but from the conversation with the owners, it's sounding like they want to add 14 feet to the back of their structures. Adding that 14 feet brings them out of the existing footprint rule and requires them to build to the setbacks. Their setbacks are townhomes, they're 0. Or, you know, some of them are a little more, some are a little less. So that's the request for the variance, is how I understand it.
Yeah, you're correct. The side variance request, even though it's written in here, is gone away. There's that 6-inch
Yeah.
thing.
They'd
Yeah,
forget.
that's,
The request is the 14 feet in the back, which makes them non-compliant with the grandfathering of this.
Okay, which in turn,
hang on a minute.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You gotta do the
We gotta
public
do,
hearing.
I know,
Public
that, I forget that. So we're gonna have a public hearing. Maybe you got, as the record keeper, keep me straight on this. Don't let me
Yeah, I got
forget.
it.
We're gonna open the public hearing for variance request of 107 South 38th Street, and that variance is contrary to how this is written, is simply a rear variance to move outside the footprint of based on what we all passed back.
But it's also a side variant because it makes it not grandfathered anymore.
That is correct.
So,
That is correct. Are there people here for 107 South 38? Any comment from the public before we move on? Okay, no one here? All right. We'll move then to close the public hearing. We'll move to the table for discussion of variance 107 South 38. And we'll open that floor to those of you who council comments.
I had a long conversation 2 or 3 times with people that own this. I think basically, if we don't do the 14 feet back, then, and have some kind of variance, then that property is basically useless. I'm all for doing that because, I mean, this has been there since '86, I believe. And why didn't somebody do something prior to the storm, I guess? I don't know. I don't know if they would have tried to change things then, if it could have been done. I guess it could have. But the lot itself is 100 feet deep. And I think basically what they're wanting to do is go 14 feet all the way across. Well, yeah. The Bear Essentials was there in '86, but people bought that as the Bear Essentials also.
So they're not useless because you can build in the footprint of it.
You can build on the footprint, which is, 14.9 feet wide. And I think in this case, it would be a better piece of property, and it would be better from the city's standpoint on the tax schedule to allow them to do this. And does it affect traffic? Does it affect basically anything? Not really. Have I had comments from neighbors? No, I haven't personally, but I don't know if there's neighbors here that may have comments. But as a tendency, we normally do not vote for variances. This, as far as I'm concerned, would make a better piece of property for the city than to go up, you know, maybe they've gotta go up 3 or 4 floors to get their square footage they need, even though it's just 14 feet wide, it's just 14.9 feet wide. But this is basically what we would call a hardship of the land, so to speak. And, so I'm not opposed to the change, although this is one of the few I'd vote for on the variance.
The front and back is still in the setback, right?
Not if they change. If they go 14 feet back, that changes everything according to the new code.
I'm talking about the setback for the,
They got 100 feet.
yeah.
Yeah, they got plenty of room to do that.
Yeah, Bobby, if they do go to 14 feet, they still meet the rear setback.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought you, yeah, they're not an encroachment on the rear setback.
One of them built the room, just built the 14 foot further back. Now he's asking for all of them to be built the same. Really, is that what he's trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean,
the
he's got one out of the 6, and then they want the rest of them to be the same way as that one.
Right.
My question would be, if they built back in the footprints, could they get a permit to build their 14 foot like this person did?
Say that again?
I don't think so, because
No,
it's
not the
setback
new
lines.
code. The new code would come into effect, right?
Yeah, you said it wasn't encroaching on the
Side
back.
setback.
Side setbacks.
It affects the sides.
So if they go 14 feet back, they're going in the same line as the original building, which was on the inside the setbacks anyway.
Yeah.
Is that right?
But one of them can build back, if they go back with the original.
Yes.
One of them can build back, the 5 that cannot.
Correct.
So he's asking for the other 5 to build back like his.
And the whole other 5 have reached out to the city requesting and supporting his
Yeah,
request.
the whole unit. the
All
whole-
6 of them have.
All
asked.
6, yeah, we're looking at this as a sixplex.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But one's already built. That per se.
One's already that size, yes.
Also, something to note, when I went and looked, if you, coming off of 98, that long unit that is before you get to them on the left, there's like 10, maybe, I don't know, 10 or 11, 8 or 10. All of them are at a distance past where this unit, if this unit stays in their footprint, that whole complex is 12 to 14 feet deeper now.
Ocean Plantation.
Oh, what's the name of it?
Ocean Plantation, or Oceanside Village. Oceanside Village, the yellow.
Well, it used to be that we called it, I think we called it the Green Mile.
Green Mile.
I mean, for years,
I
it
think
was
it's
known
Jimmy
as the
Hammer's
Green Mile.
Okay. Might be the wrong building.
They're changing that now because of all the site, but my point is the width or the depth of that whole complex is deeper than what these people were before the storm. So adding 14 feet wouldn't be giving them an advantage over anyone. That's already what the building is now that's next to it. And I agree with Jerry, I think it has, in this case, it's a better deal for them, it's a better deal for the city. because there's room back there to do it. And I'm sure, I don't, it may be in here, I just didn't look, but I'm sure the zoning board denied.
5-0.
Yeah. And I understand why, I mean, you know, I fully understand what they're governed by. So, others? There's no one here to represent, so we'll just keep it at the table. So, come on, we just had the public hearing.
I don't want no fight in this.
We just had the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
We just had it,
I
so I
thought that's
mean,
what you were asking.
a public hearing is where anybody in the room can speak about it. So, I mean, but I'm pretty loose, so come on.
Well, all I wanted to say is, see, I got one in back 10 years ago. Y'all gave me an easement and all those on 37th Street.
Yeah.
To go back within 10 feet. And I just kind of want to clue you in, if y'all do this, you're fixing to have about 50 other people gonna come up here want the same thing.
Well, then I understand that. We get that every time. You're setting precedents, you're doing, you know, you let one do it, you don't let the other do it. I'm a case by case person, and if 50 others come up here and they've got a scenario like this, then most likely I'll support them too.
I just want to clue you in.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you for keeping us enlightened, Larry. All right, moving on. Other comments?
If we do it, I mean, it won't, it just affect the back, it's not, the side, it says here, 0.5 on the sides, it won't have
They
any.
didn't, they removed that.
They removed.
All this is a 14 feet addition in the rear of that sixplex. And they need that because the grandfathering clause that we allowed only allowed footprint replacement, period.
And make all the whole section the same.
All right, other comments? Chair will entertain a motion.
I would move that we accept the variance as requested.
Could you identify it, because the reading of the variance is difficult, just
At 107 South 38th Street,
14 feet
14 feet.
14 feet
in the rear.
in the rear.
Okay. All right, make sure that's properly.
Yes. Put my words any way you want to.
All right, we have a motion to accept the 14 feet in the rear. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Further comments? Call the roll.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Kathy.
Yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Putnam.
Yes.
Okay, moving to number 4, which is another variance, 1002 Highway 98.
There is a survey in your packet on page 27,
Thank you for the number.
and there is a variance request letter that was separate from the packet sitting up here. This one too had me confused as to what they were asking for a month ago, and it did come before the council, now it's back. It appears that it's similar to what we just did. And I know the petitioner's here shaking his head looking at me, so
All right, well, now that you've said that, we're gonna not forget,
open the hearing.
open the hearing. And we will now open the public hearing for the variance request at 1002 Highway 98. And those who are here, again, please identify who you are, and your floor is yours.
Christopher Kamak, I was owner of number 4 of the quadplex. I'm speaking on behalf of the other owner.
Okay?
And yes, this is a continuation. We met last month. Thanks for letting me come back this month with a clearer. This was a confusing request. We didn't quite know how to write it up, and I think we have a lot more understanding now. So that's what I put in the plans. It's very similar to what y'all just discussed. We were a total loss. We recognize that we have the ability to build to the same footprint. We're very grateful for that. But between the back of our, the rear of our footprint and the rear setback is an additional 8.5 feet. So we're asking to use that. You know, we're gonna build to the same front, we're just gonna build to the same sides. We're not changing density or the way it's gonna look from the road. There's just some more room in the back that we'd like to take advantage of. And so, y'all's aren't color, but what I tried to draw here, it's a red line on mine. the one that starts at 10 feet. Between the back on this line and the red line is the additional 8.5 feet that we request.
What's your front setback?
18.5.
This represents 18 now?
Yes.
So again, the variance isn't a variance except for the sides, because he's moving outside the original footprint, adding 8.5 feet, which makes him non-compliant with the grandfathering on the side setback.
Okay, but he still has 10 feet, that,
He has 8.5
eight and a half.
that he
instead of
could
10.
build up.
Yeah. Go over that again?
He has 8.5 feet until he hits his setback line, and he wants to use that 8.5 to build.
So the setback line from there to the end of his property is 10 feet,
18.5.
18 and a half.
So you go 8.5, so it's 10.
Well, finally, that makes sense to me.
So is that your setback in the front?
That's all I do.
Good.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Okay, comments? Oh, excuse me, I'll get where I am. You got it, you have anything?
I don't unless there's any specific questions for me.
Others? Public hearing wise?
I have a question. I'm trying to understand this. The addition that the owner wants to build is in the back, correct? Going out the back. And there's 18.5 feet to the back setback line, is that
Go to the property line.
to the property line? So, okay. So my question is, if the city said that people have the option of building to the original footprint or meeting all the codes, does the addition in the back meet the codes?
Well, it would if it's new construction be built. I guess that's what you mean.
That was gonna be my question after this.
I mean, this is a total rebuild.
Are they gonna have a pervious surface issue?
Well,
I calculated that. We were at, let's see, we're at 552 square feet, we moved to 688. I think the entire lot is 1104, so that puts us at 62% with the, if we build to the, if we get the additional 8.5 in the back, I think that lot is 90, that's general commercial.
But you have to put it residential and general commercial, as to me.
well, that really wouldn't be for us to decide. That's a building department issue. I mean, if we give them, whatever we give them, if they get there and it doesn't meet it, well then they got an issue. That's not us. Are there other anybody in the room that wants to comment on this variance? Larry? You through? Okay. Close the public hearing. We're gonna come to the table. And I wanna comment, similar to but different than what we just did. This is 4 feet short of the front setback. The front setback on this property is 20 feet. I'm not for allowing them to add to the back when, and use the footprint unless they wanna move the building back to the 20 feet. This is a total rebuild. And I can't see, I'm okay with trying to give balance to people that want to take advantage of their properties. I fully understand that. And Michael has left us with some decisions to make about how and let them do it, but for me, I'm not okay for us to give up 8.5 in the back and them not conform to the front.
But if they wanna stay in the same footprint.
But they're not, they're asking to extend that footprint.
I see.
And I'm okay with the size, in this case, in this fourplex, I'm okay to give, for me, I'm okay to let them build that fourplex back. And I'm okay with giving them, in essence, what would be 4.5 feet in the rear, additional space, assuming they meet whatever impervious and everything. But I think they should conform to the front setback, because they can. I don't think they should ask us to give up 8.5 and then keep it all.
What do you say about that?
I don't know that I have a good argument against it. To be honest.
And let me clarify, when we voted, or at least for me, when we voted to allow the footprint, I don't think any of us were naive enough to think that we weren't gonna get these types of scenarios. And I feel adjustable, I'm okay with being asked to be adjustable, but I don't think ought to do it all. I don't think the city bears that to be the one that just gives up. I think that there's a give and take in everything. And I have to look at it based on what I think the best interest is, and that's why I'm saying that. You have it, and I think we're doing, or for me, I feel like the city's doing their share to allow you to reasonably come back.
Okay.
Okay, that's, just so you know. Okay, enough of my thoughts. What else? Anybody else? Chair will entertain a motion. And the motion, for the record, should be to either accept what was before us or deny. I mean, we don't need to get into what I just said. I'm just saying if it's, that's what I think is appropriate. But the motion isn't for that. What's before us is 8.5 feet.
That's all.
Period. Now, if we want to do what we did earlier and talk about what we would do, that's fine. But the initial motion needs to be to accept or deny what's before us.
So then they ask for a permit when they rebuild.
Well, no, it's just
I thought
they're asking for 8.5 feet in the rear and stay within their footprint. Just extend it back.
So they're
Motion
asking
needs
for,
to address what they've asked for.
so they're asking for 8.5 feet in the back, a front setback and a side setback.
I was an art major.
All right, again, is there a motion?
Rex?
Make a motion to deny variance 1002 Highway 98.
Okay, we have a motion to deny, or second.
I say.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Call the roll.
Mr. Pollock,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Cap,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
No.
Mr. Putnam.
Yes. Okay, the motion for the 8.5 feet is denied. Is there any comment? Again, I think what would be appropriate is if you think you would want to come again with, not that my idea, I mean, would float anyway, I'm just saying, to me, that has more merit.
Okay,
Okay?
okay, I appreciate the
Yes.
council's time.
Yes, thank you. Okay, who's handling 5?
Did Nick give you a briefing to handle 5? Because I was told Nick was gonna handle 5.
He did not.
All right. Number 5 is edits to the land development code, and these are to create consistency between the comp plan and the land development code.
Is that it?
That's it. That's what I know.
I'm gonna suggest that we table this.
Good idea.
Yeah, I thought Nick was here today, so.
But you would need an ordinance, I assume you need an ordinance to approve it anyway.
Yeah, I'm surprised
Yeah.
at the format this is in.
Yeah, the notes I got from Nick was that he just thought it was a discussion item.
Okay.
That's-
Oh, okay, well, I mean, I've read it, and I don't disagree that these are some of the things we've said, and that we did agree on. But if it's just a discussion item, I think for me, I'd be more comfortable if we had somebody here that was gonna, like, lead us through. I'm not sure where we're going with this, other than edits to the land development code. I'm not sure what that means.
I was at the P and Z meeting when the lawyer presented it, so I don't feel comfortable with it.
Can we get a motion to table? I don't know
I'll
anything
make a
here that's
motion.
earth-shattering.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second to table. Any opposition?
I read it 5 times, I didn't understand.
Well, it's really the recap of what we've done previous. But again, the format of it, I'm just a little confused about it. All right, we're gonna move on. Number 6, Mr. Wallace.
After reading what I've read in the last week or so, I'm totally confused with the legal, illegal, and whatever situation. So I am not going to say anything about the Civic Center today.
Okay.
Cause Nick's not here.
Anybody else? Okay. Moving on. Number 7.
Okay, that's basically me.
No, that's not you.
You missed Mr. Pollock.
Yeah,
It just
that
came
is-
to me via email from Tanya, not from Mr. Pollock, so I didn't put a name.
Oh,
on it.
square foot of dwelling? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Bob, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Well, of course, everything being built back, going down 98 and seeing tiny houses, being advertised. And I thought, a couple of years ago, we had square footage on the size houses we built. And I understand we don't.
Hopefully it's 700. You
No,
know what?
no.
We don't have anything.
Zoning brought it before the council, and the council did not approve
We didn't say
minimum
anything.
size.
I really think we ought to look into this, because it's gonna come about. We're gonna have, smaller places being built. You know, I'm thinking 1,000, but, if we wanna go 700, that's fine, but, I do think there's a minimum size we should have on what size houses we have in this area.
I agree.
How many was your house? How many square?
It was a duplex, about 1,200, right at 1,250.
So 625.
If you don't mind, Bill, what,
625 is that?
when did the P and Z address this?
It was
Just help me.
Beginning of the
Probably
comp
within the
plan.
last year and a half,
Beginning of the comp plan discussion.
and, we looked at, minimum lot size, and we looked at minimum, square footage, and, we had discussed several numbers. We were kind of in that 700, 750.
Well, we got a lot size.
number. We have a lot size number, yes, we do, but, we suggested to consider, minimum square footage, and the council decided not to address it at the time. Obviously, pre-Michael wasn't as big an issue.
Could I suggest that we send that request back to P and Z for y'all to look at that
We
and,
will.
and come back
Sooner the better.
with a, either a recommendation or some documentation based on how y'all, either just whatever y'all had talked about, or bring it up as a new item, given the conditions that we're now in.
Okay,
Is that okay with everyone?
That sounds good.
And then we can come back, if y'all can make that agenda item for
we'll
you.
do it right away.
Yeah.
Just to, can
So
I
is
just,
it, excuse me.
Ladies,
Yeah.
you
I
got more.
just had a recommendation, if you're going to present that, if you could also add in a minimum lot size so that it can't be, a lot can't be replatted to create an unbuildable lot with impervious.
Well, I can't imagine that we would replot. This city is notorious for not.
Well, there are things that can be subdivided, and there's actually a sentence in the land development code that says there is no minimum lot size. So. if
Say that
somebody-
again? There's not a minimum lot?
There is not a minimum lot size, yes, sir.
But it's
But it's-
covered in the density.
Oh,
But it's
yeah,
gotta be
that's
covered
it.
in that density.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
But there have been developments that would not allow for more than a 750 square foot house with the impervious area ratio. So if somebody were to replat a lot, looking at that sentence says there's no minimum lot requirement, that would only support a 750 square foot house, and the minimum house square footage is 800, then they've essentially created an unbuildable lot legally. It's conflicting.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, somebody.
Okay, I was just gonna say, where we looked at it before, it doesn't say there's any minimum lot size other than a certain number per acre, and when you do the math, that's kind of the number that's been floating around, but we've had comments say that, those don't necessarily have to be equal. It doesn't have to be an equal number, so you could take an acre, divide it by 6, 8, 18, whatever, come up with a number. But if you were developing that lot, you could have lots, some say, that could be smaller as long as you met the overall square footage of the development. So that's something we worked through, but the way it stands now, we don't have a minimum lot size other than the math dividing the density into an acre and coming up with a square footage, and that's where you're at.
Okay.
That's what we've been using for a long time.
No, just to comment kind of where this is coming from. I had dealt with it in Gulf County briefly in a neighborhood that I was building in. We didn't have a minimum, and technically with the state, you can build about a 300 square foot dwelling by the state guidelines, and it'd be called a house, and that's where I think it's very important that y'all probably address this, because that's kind of where it can come from. Somebody could come in and say, as long as it's got a kitchen, a bathroom, and
Right.
certain items where it could be around about 300, so
It's something
I think
like
the
that.
700-800 foot is probably somewhere good to start.
How much?
You know, that's 7-8 where y'all are in, I mean, you know.
Also, I know the city does not enforce plat restrictions, but you will find in certain plats, certain covenants for certain subdivisions, that is already there. Again, the city doesn't enforce that, that's the people within that own property in that plat. I know in my neighborhood it's 700.
Well,
In the plat, that I'm going back now in the 1949, when that plat was recorded, it says in there, you'll find those in. But again, the city doesn't, I'm only throwing that out. This city's been involved in several plat disputes as if, but I just think I'm only mentioning that because somebody may come and say, well, wait a minute, if you pick a number, whatever that is, somebody may say, well, wait a minute, I can build to 700, you put 800, where you get that from? Where it says in my plat, I can do that. So,
That's true. Plat rules.
yeah, plat rules. Plat comes before LDR. Plat comes before comp plan. Plat comes before anything.
does it have to have association for the plat to?
No, it's the people that own property in a plat, whatever that, if it shows, let's just pick 50 lots, they're in a plat. Everyone in that plat has standing to build whatever those covenants are in that plat.
So if it's platted prior to the adoption date, then,
Well, everything here,
right,
everything here, so.
yep.
just, and you're right, plat rules. I mean, we paid dearly here years ago to find that out. So, we don't need to reinvent that wheel. But, I only mention that, just, again, I don't know what number you have in line. Most I've never seen, I've looked at all the plats here, I don't remember seeing many that are, it's either 700 or 800. And I think that's sort of the range that we're talking about anyway. But I think we ought to run that through P&Z, come back to us with a formal presentation, and so everybody, and that'll sort of get the city's attention of what we're doing. Is that agreeable?
Yeah, quick.
Okay, number 8, moving on.
Okay, that's me again.
That's you.
All right. The, temporary road, the building the bridge on, 36th Street. At the time it was built, I believe it was supposed to be, a temporary road and then closed. We got a petition here of 32 owners in the area that, would like to have it closed. My thought is to have it closed, but in a temporary form in case it has to be used for whatever reason, bridge going out or, anything like that. I can understand the feelings of, I live in a neighborhood which you don't have one way in, and I like it. I don't like a lot of traffic going through my neighborhood. People bought in that neighborhood to be that way. So, I see no reason why not close the temporary road where it could be reopened in case of an emergency. Y'all got copies of the petition, I believe.
I thought that was originally the idea to begin with. As soon as it got, but I like the idea of having a nice paved road, but I think all we need to do is put a gate across it, like that's what you're suggesting, right?
Right, yeah.
And lock it. And then if there's emergencies that make it necessary, the city can unlock it, blah, blah, blah. But that shouldn't happen very often.
Who owns the land? The road. Who owns the land that the road's on? St. Joe?
I think St. Joe. So I guess they could go in and tear it up if they want to.
So part of the leased land up for the boat ramp?
The pavement that comes in to the
Right.
boat ramp.
But where does the leased land for the boat ramp, because we extended that out for boat ramp parking at one point with
I
St.
still
Joe.
think that section is on St. Joe's property.
Well, it's all
It's
St.
all
Joe's.
St. Joe.
I just don't know whether it's leased.
They were gonna gate it.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't object to gating it.
No,
I guess
I
is the
don't
right way
think
to
so,
say it. There you go.
So
There's no question that it was a temporary road, there's no question that everybody, when that whole thing started, that it was gonna be used for the repair and replacement of the bridge. And, in fact, DOT was instructed initially to tear it out.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And that we city said, look, don't take it out, I mean, but then it's up to us to, and really what we have to do is petition St. Joe to do that, because it's not technically our road. But I don't think there's any problem with that. I think that was in their plan anyway. Because they knew what was said in the beginning. So, I'll be glad to call Bridget or send her an email or just get Randy to whatever, to just say, we wanna go ahead and gate that off, and I agree with y'all, we don't wanna cut a trench in it, we just wanna put a gate across it.
Do we need
And I
to
think
make a
that's,
motion on these plans?
Yeah, we'll make a motion, yeah, absolutely, let's make a formal motion, or we can say, and the record will reflect it. But I think the motion should read that we petition St. Joe Company to, and we can say if we have to, I guess we'd pay to gate it off, and see what if they object, but I think that's in their plans.
All right, I make a motion that we petition St. Joe Company to gate off the temporary road to 36th Street.
Second.
We have a motion second, discussion? Comments, any objection? Let the motion show, passes 5-0. All right, we'll get that out.
Miscellaneous.
Oh, we've got, another, we got a number 10, or we got a number, well, we got another item. I'm sorry, Dina, go ahead.
So we have two change orders, for current contracts that are urgent. The first one is for our water plant repairs project. And I'll let Thomas jump in as necessary, but this is related to the valve that went down and we didn't have water temporarily. So this would allow us to just go ahead and replace that valve. It is a change order, and it would increase the contract, would increase the amount by $26,600. But we still have contingency built into that, so it doesn't increase the actual overall amount, if that makes sense. We still have available contingency in that budget to implement this and even have some left over, but we have to approve that before we can allow us to use the contingency to replace the valve.
I would have to need that.
What's the valve replacement?
The 26,006.
24,304?
No, I'm sorry.
26.
That's the next one. It's,
Oh, I'm on the wrong one.
yeah, it should say project water plant electrical component.
So it says 1,600.
Yes.
Right,
We don't have that.
okay.
Let me pass it down.
That's what everybody did.
I thought you had to.
Yeah, I've got a pile of papers, I don't have that, at least I don't see it. Okay,
Here too.
yeah,
Drake didn't give it to us.
well, I got that. Where y'all get the 26,000 from?
First page, number one change.
It's about 4 lines down.
Increase of this change order.
That's gonna be wrong, I can't see.
Watch it, watch it. Okay, I'm sorry, I just, let's, so say again, Dina, the motion needs to be for the whole contingency,
No, just to allow us to
withdraw from, or use.
use 26,600 of contingency to do that
I
work.
got you.
Okay.
All right, now which valve, just because I get confused when I go out there, what valve are we replacing?
The day you was there during the water plant issue,
Yeah.
and we was looking in that pit, and that valve was not open, it's to replace all the components inside of that pit. That's the valve that failed. We don't know why it failed, I guess hurricane something, the damage, we don't know. This was the reason why that water tank went dry, is because that valve did not open and allow they came to fill our system like it's properly supposed to. And you seen what condition it was in that
All
day.
right, and we're gonna fix so that that pit's not full of water?
That's already been repaired. That's already been
Okay,
done.
that part's done.
That part's
Pump-
done.
The pump's
It's-
replaced.
Even though with all this rain right now, it's probably dry right now. So we have a pump in there, pump like sucking water out, we just gotta get the valve set. Right now, we have no way of automatically filling our storage tank.
Do we have an alarm on that pump?
It's tied into the SCADA system in the
Excuse
water
me?
plant. It's in the control plant, the water plant.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So somebody,
If something happens to it, we know.
okay. All right, Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to increase, the amount of $26,600 of contingency to remove and replace automatic 8-inch fill valve for the upstream of the ground storage tank.
Well done. Second.
We have a motion second. Comments? Any objection? Motion carries 5-0.
Rex, I'm proud of you.
You did an exceptional job there, Rick.
All right, Dina,
The
you're still
next,
up.
the next one, it should say water tie-ins, West Highway 98. At the top. This would be, so this is the water tie-ins project GAC's been working on. They're complete currently with that. and they're about to demobilize. Never mind.
No, I haven't seen mine.
I didn't look at it.
So they're about to demobilize. Originally, that project was to replace meters that were damaged by the storm and also tie them into our 6-inch line. A lot of those meters were on an old 2-inch, so we wanted to get them onto the 6-inch line as we were replacing meters. Along 37th Street, there were about 20 meters that are already on that new line, but they're way back by the houses outside of the city right away. So Public Works is asked to come back and go ahead, since we're already under contract and replacing meters, go ahead and when we replace those 20 meters, move them to the right of way and put them into the scope for GAC. They've already completed the project so far, so this would also require that we give them some additional time to do that. So the total cost to install those 20, and I'll let Thomas jump in, this is to cover GAC's labor. The city is purchasing the meters.
Meters are separate.
Yeah, and getting their tax savings by directly purchasing those. So this would increase the project by $24,304.93. There is some contingency built into this project as well. There was a budget of $5,000 per contingency, so we'd still end up having to increase the overall contract to implement it. And the final contract would go up to $192,815.88. But this allows, if we move them to the right of way, this means that if anything happens, we're not tearing up people's driveways and yards to access.
Is this a FEMA reimbursement?
Yeah, I spoke to Atkins, and because it's in the same project area and it's part of the meter replacement, this should not be an issue with FEMA. Same thing for the water valve, and I've already talked to FEMA about that happening, so we don't anticipate this being a problem.
Well, let me ask you. I haven't read every contract that we have performed in the last 8 months, because there's volumes. But do we put in there paid when paid on construction contracts?
I don't know. Typically, we pay within 30 days of our invoice. Going forward, I've been instructed, Nick actually found a state statute that we could put into our contracts that says, essentially, if federal funds are being used, then we will pay when paid, but that was not a part of this one.
Well, that's a shame. Well, but is this an addendum?
A change order, yeah.
I mean, it's a change order.
Yeah.
Well, paid when paid, based on the condition of this city, I think we need to start doing that, because, everybody said here, budget meeting, last meeting, talking about borrowing money, we're talking about doing whatever, I don't know what all we're talking about doing, but if they're FEMA reimbursable, I strongly suggest that we put language, I don't know the legality on municipal contracts, but in the real world, that is not an uncommon paragraph to have in your contract.
So typically it takes 2 months or so, doesn't it, at best, to get reimbursed? At best? Well, I think the first time was 58 days.
Correct.
Oh, but that was just a PW. Yeah, that was not a reimbursable contract.
$200 million. What?
That first one was reimbursement for debris.
Yeah.
That took
Yeah,
50
but
years.
it wasn't for a contract like this, is what I'm saying.
Well, it was a contract with the debris removal people.
It's not like this.
But it has nothing to do, I mean, this could be, yeah, Cat A debris removal is a different animal than getting reimbursed for this.
Would this be Cat B?
Are you saying on a change order that we can't do that?
No, because the contract's already in place for the project. We could possibly amend the contract to include
Well,
that.
shame is one of the smallest ones we have. Well, I'm just letting you know that for me signing contracts, we've got to I mean, this is probably bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and everybody's already scored, so, but that's something we've got to look at.
Yeah, I was gonna say, FEMA is fundamentally a reimbursement program, and so that certainly needs to be looked at very closely by your FEMA consultant as to whether you can do a pay when paid. That would be my recommendation.
I
I'll talk to
understand
Nick
that,
about
but,
it too, yeah.
hell, if we can't get paid, we can't just sit here and
And
dry out.
all the government entities in the county are dealing with the same issues.
I know.
And y'all have it worse than most, I'm sure.
All right, Jared, you make a motion, I mean, Rex, you make a motion? I'm sorry, I lost track.
Nobody's made a motion.
Nobody's made a motion, okay. That's on the table. Or anyone else, for that matter, that's, wants to make a motion.
Go ahead, Rick.
We wearing him out.
You done so good last time. I'll give it a whirl. Let's see, make a motion to approve a change order in the contract. Original price of $173,510.95 to $192,815.88 to move 20 meters to the right of way.
We have a second?
Second.
Have a second. I have one question, Tom. So these the meters that are down like on 38th Street and 37th
Yes,
Street?
these are actually the meters that are located behind what used to be the express lane on Pier Road, behind that side. It's that stretch of meters where. So,
All right, is there any opposition to the motion? Let the record reflect, passes 5-0. All right, miscellaneous, we're ready. Whoever's down there, I see y'all. Oh, yeah, well, we all know her.
Okay, well, it's our first actual meeting.
It's her first actual meeting, but you sort of handcuffed you, she hadn't said a word. That's right.
That's common.
But we're glad you're here, we welcome you on board, and for the audience, citizens, our Jeannie Meyer, our new city clerk. Adrian, as everyone knows, has submitted his resignation. He is helping out getting Jeannie on board, and we appreciate Adrian's service. We're moving on, and thank you for showing some interest in our city. I appreciate that. All of us do. All right, do you have any comments? Jeannie?
I don't, I'm just happy to be here, back in my hometown.
Good for you. Miscellaneous from anyone besides me?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
My name is Bill Driver, 300 Georgia Avenue. I'm here on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Group, excuse me, throat problem. Planning and Zoning Group, to talk about Pier Street. We've had some citizens bring up some ideas of the buried construction that's potentially available or going to happen on the Pier Street. And I see Larry over here is actually the one of the citizens that brought it up. So Larry, I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about what your concerns were, what you brought to planning and zoning. And I wanted to throw it out to the council so they were aware and see if we need to pursue anything on behalf of that.
That was a trick.
You want me to talk about it?
I will, I brought,
Okay.
he was so kind enough at the planning meeting to let me know like you did in May. And I have a lot of, my name's Larry Oaks, I have a lot on Main Street, 37th Street. I am ready to build out. I've got my attachment easements, I've got everything signed, the architect is ready to draw my plans. But I'm concerned, and the example I gave them is I'm gonna build 8 foot up on pylons. But what if the mayor was my neighbor, and he said, well, they said you ain't gonna have to build it 3 foot up off the ground, and I ain't walking up no more than 3 steps. And then what if this lady over here is the mayor's neighbor, and she says, well, I got a boat, I wanna build 10 foot up where I put my boat in. Well, I'm gonna build a 2-story house where I can have 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, upstairs. And the mayor's, I've done told you, I ain't gonna have no steps, I'm gonna build 1 story. And this lady said, well, I want a nice little 1.5 stories. I'm gonna put my roof like this, and the mayor just wants a flat roof, and she wants one as high as she can with a nice little dormer on it.
What I guess, what I am saying is it's kinda like going to Walmart, getting 3 jigsaw puzzles. One's a castle, one's the capital of the United States, and one's the, ocean out here. And taking a third of each of them, shake them up, put them out there and say, make a puzzle out of it, it ain't gonna work. So unless there's some conformity to building all these houses side by side, it's gonna be a big mess. And that was my concern, plus on 37th Street, all those were originally big lots, and then they built 3 or 4 or 5 lots on each of them. All those big lots had an easement on them. So some of these houses are built on Duke Energy's easement already, and you know, I mean, y'all can say the footprint goes back, but what about that? I don't know. My problem was the conformity. How's it gonna look? You know, what are we gonna do about that? Because as I said, I'm ready, I'm gonna be first, and people's gonna have to attach to me, but, you know, how are they gonna do it to make everything conform? They all roof, work, make the water flow.
You want my opinion?
Yeah.
Keep restricted neighborhoods.
City owns the street, city owns the right of way, and you, and Frank and Joe and Sue and all that own those properties, either you talk to each other.
You know who my neighbor is.
But my point is that that's not the city's you're talking now architectural design requirements. No way. For me, no way. That's a property owner, whether it be you and me if we're side by side, or you and me and Frank and Joe if we're all 4 side by side, but whatever block of properties that was there, if there's 5 units like these fellows that have come to us today, where there's like that 6-plex where they all got together and here's what they want to do.
Well, I understand, that's fine.
I don't see any other way to do it. How else would the city do that?
I don't know, but it's gonna be coming.
Yeah, good luck.
Unless we institute architectural controls, and I cannot, well, we can, but I would never.
We've never done it before, have we?
Oh, no, I'm just saying that what he's asking, that's what that leads to.
I'm not asking, I'm just putting it in.
Okay, you throwing it out there for us, all right?
No, that's not it.
But I don't know any answer this city could give you, if you're first. I would assume if you talk to your neighbors and ask them, here's what I plan to do, y'all.
Oh, I've already done that.
That's what I mean.
And I'm sharing the island with them at my cost if I do it first. No,
There you go.
it just ain't gonna work.
Well, does anybody else got a comment about that? I mean, I don't know, I can't, property owner rights are different than animals.
We're attaching, you know, that's what the problem is.
Yep.
Do they have?
You got a suggestion?
Yes.
Not a suggestion, you have a comment.
No, my comments are kind of dovetailing yours, and that's a big, cities can regulate architectural issues, you know, even arguably even the color of houses and those kind of things, but those are big steps. And so it's, you know, often cities will take little steps to do that. They'll put it in one certain zone, you know, a historical corridor or something like that. That's how they'll start. But to do it citywide would be, I mean, it can be done, but it's a big step.
That goes back to associations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? I got one, yes, sir.
I appreciate y'all letting me be here. I'm actually from the Atlanta area, and I believe that you're aware of you've been brought to the attention of 50 for Florida. It's a friend of mine owns a place over in Port St. Joe. Bought it right before Hurricane Michael. We've applied for a permit in between Port St. Joe to Tyndall Air Force Base. And y'all's lovely little area right here is the only one we have not got a permit for yet. It's 500 runners in 7-man teams, so it's gonna be relays. So they're becoming, so we're just trying to petition y'all to get a permit to run through here. It'd be using we've already filed a permit, and I think it got tabled.
Yeah, it got sent to us. y'all remember, I mean, the council got the permit. I don't wanna interrupt you, but I didn't understand what we were being asked to look at.
What day of the week would this run?
It'd be a Saturday, October the 12th. We were told, I was told, that it went before y'all, that it had to be approved, through the council to get the permit. So that's why I was kinda here just.
Okay, no. It got sent to us, does it help me, anybody remember
It
what?
just got sent.
Yeah, there were some
I
questions.
researched it, it's pretty good.
There were some questions on closing the roads and was it for profit and,
Non-profit.
yeah, there were some questions that.
Yeah, none of the money
going
is,
around.
it's, nothing's for profit. As a matter of fact, the gentleman, he's in Colorado on business, so that's the reason why I'm here. He's about $40,000 out of his own personal pocket that he's not even trying to be reimbursed for. All the money that we're working with different churches and every dime that we earn will go, it's being held through a 501c out of the Atlanta area. They've already reached out to certain pastors in this area, anywhere between Port St. Joe and Tyndall Air Force Base, since they're kind of on the ground with you guys helping to help wherever those funds need to be, wherever the church deems appropriate, to help rebuild the community that they're in.
Well, let's do this, let us, put that on the agenda. I guess, I don't know why, it really is not a council, the language in the permit is approved by the administrator. I'm not sure, maybe we can ask, Thursday.
How many people do you anticipate taking
Or
part?
no,
As far as the athletes go, they're gonna be, it's gonna be 7-man relay teams, so at any given time, there's a total of 500 runners.
Oh, 500.
So but they're not all gonna be on the road at once. What we're asking for is
task her to look at it.
full foot of roadway off the
That's the way
shoulder,
it's-
cone it off, you know, and then, once they come through, they're gonna turn around at Tyndall Air Force Base and come back through. So we would have one side of the road being used on the shoulder, but then remove it once the last runner comes through. Everything's gonna be timed, so they're gonna have to meet certain time requirements. Or Fort St. Joe, we've got some school buses that are gonna be coming back, and they're gonna be pulled off the course to alleviate any kind of traffic issue and keep it minimal.
So 98 should be open by then.
I hope so.
Yeah,
We may all be run out of town.
Now, the way I read it, I think, Safe Patrol is gonna help coordinate this.
Yes, sir. But we were told that, I mean, we had to get the permits from the local
Yes,
jurisdictions.
and that,
then
what you come, let us do this, let us, Tanya will be back Thursday.
Okay.
We'll make a note and, see what it is that we need to do to pass that on, I looked at it, I appreciate you coming through town.
No, we appreciate y'all entertaining. I mean, I know I'm
Yeah,
from that area, just coming down.
we'll work on that, we'll make sure we put that up there. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else?
I had one, but I'm struggling with it. The cross-connection control ordinance was advertised to be read today, never got on the agenda. I don't have copies of the ordinance, because the original went to Tammy, I don't have it. So we're probably gonna have to push it out to the next meeting, because I don't have a physical copy of the ordinance, all I have is the title.
So that's important,
We need to pass
cross-connection
it like.
control is part of the DEP.
If everybody's seen it, we can read it and do it without a copy of the
Consent
thing.
order, I guess you would call it.
What about Friday?
I have to re-advertise it if we don't do it today.
Oh, you have to you've advertised it today?
Yeah, it's been in the paper, it's been posted.
So what is it?
It's that cross-connection control that we were supposed to adopt the night before the hurricane. The meeting was canceled.
Has DEP contacted us?
Yes. Yes.
They have?
Do we need to okay it?
Are y'all meeting Friday?
Yes.
Well, he's gonna have to.
But if we advertise it and we say in this meeting.
I think if you say in this meeting that you were unable to, it was advertised for this meeting, and did not make it on the agenda, and that you're unable to consider it today because you don't have the original ordinance, and that it'll be considered on Friday, that should be sufficient. I put something on your website too, saying that.
Okay.
That'll
Okay,
save my
make
life.
that at,
Got in a bit of a panic for about 20 minutes there.
make that at 9, a special meeting at 9:45. Which is 15 minutes before the first interview. And then I mean, that way we don't conflict what we've already done for that item only. Is that good? I can't imagine it's gonna, I mean, I know, yeah, that needs to get done. All right, I have one, anybody else? And I want to say this as constructively as I possibly can. So bear with me. I got an email yesterday, as everyone did, concerning that we've added an interview for Friday. And it said in the email that I received that 3 council members requested that interview be posted. And I'm not against, if we interview 20 people, I don't have a problem with it. But what I do have a problem with is the process that we decide how we will interview people. Up until yesterday, we had vetted, we had discussed at an open meeting, looked at the applications, and all of us were given an opportunity to have our input. I don't know what happened yesterday, if we had some kind of special 3-person meeting and somebody, y'all decided that we wanted to interview this person, but I do know this, that I didn't get a chance to have my vote, or my voice, or any input into who we're gonna interview for the most important job in this city. And to be denied that, I don't appreciate it. All we have to do is work as a team and put everything out there, and if there was something about this person that we wanted, then we, as a city council, should have discussed that. And if I'm wrong about that, maybe some of you knew this guy, I don't know if he's been vetted in any way, I don't know if anybody's called about who he is or what I don't know. But to get an email from the city administrator that now we're gonna add an interviewee to that list is simply what I call it's unprofessional. And it's not offering courtesy to those of us that sit at this city council. So, that's all I gotta say. All right.
Let me answer that.
Okay.
I was called. If you know, remember, I asked that y'all want to add this person to the interview. Nobody requested. I was called later by the city administrator and asked, did I want to add him to the interview? I said, yes. I said, but are you contacting all of the council people? I was told yes. That's where it's
Well, I knew when I got the email. Nobody asked me. First of all, I didn't even read. I saw the guy's name, but I hadn't even looked at it. And if you saw the email, it says it was requested by 3 council members.
I didn't get the email. I got called.
Well, I hope we see what's going on here. I hope we understand, then, if that's the case, I hope we understand that
What do you think's
we
going
are,
on?
what do you think's going
Well,
on?
no.
I didn't get called. I didn't get any information. How would you
I
feel?
wasn't aware that everybody wasn't going to be called.
I was told everybody was gonna be called.
Okay, well, now I'm telling you that it wasn't. So how would you feel if you were an elected official and you got that email, or either you were told what you were told? How would you feel? Wouldn't you think, well, everybody asked, why don't we just?
No, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. I've had that feeling many times during these council meetings, but I agree with what you're saying.
I agree with that. But I was told everybody was gonna be called.
Where are
Okay.
they?
Well, I'm just telling you, I wasn't called. I knew from the email. So, in my opinion, all I can react to is what I do know. And that is that I thought, well, my Lord, how did that decision get made?
Did everybody vote on the people that are going to be interviewed?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody did?
Well, we didn't vote, but we vetted at this meeting, at this table, about the people that we were gonna talk to. and every person said, you may not have agreed with them, but the majority of us agreed to the 3 interviews.
Yeah, I don't think I did agree, but that's
Well,
the reason we have 5 people in.
again, I'm not opposed to interviewing as many as we want. I am opposed to being left out of the process.
I think
I
you
don't
made that
appreciate
point.
that.
You
And
made
good, I
that
wanna
point
make
very
it strong and clear
Yes.
to everyone that may be listening to this meeting. I don't want that, I didn't sign up for somebody to just
Well,
write me off.
by what you're saying, you're not implying that the 3 of us had thought this out and decided
Did
to
you
eliminate
hear what I
you.
said? I said that when I got the email, that's all I know is what the email said. I was instructed by 3 council people to request an interview with this guy.
Okay.
Okay,
one
that's what it was
more
said.
I didn't
Y'all
get the
didn't
email.
get the email?
I didn't see an email. But
So
I never got one.
there's one more somewhere. Who did not get the call? Jerry.
Yeah, so,
And at the meeting, you wanted, you brought, we got that application that day.
Yeah, I brought it.
That day, we didn't, I didn't even read it. We got it that day, you got it, and you said you wanna bring him in, and nobody, us
I
5.
got it at the same time.
Okay, none of us said yes, and then you got a call, and then I reckon you 2 got a
I
call.
don't understand
And
the
y'all,
call, but.
I don't see how they done it.
Anyway, with my point made, I'll leave it alone, but I mean,
I would feel the same way,
Thank you.
but at the same time, I was told everybody was gonna be called.
That was too.
okay, because y'all were told that and you know different now, just leave it at that.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's good enough.
it won't happen again, the way as far as I'm concerned.
all right, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you. Let's go home.